Let me break down what we're dealing with here before we get into the bloodshed. An ancient war has reignited over a cup. Not just any cup. The Holy Grail, a legendary artifact that grants wishes. Rival factions of magical powerhouses called Magi summon heroic spirits from history to fight for them. These spirits, known as servants, are legendary figures. Kings, warriors, monsters, all dragged back from the afterlife to beat the crap out of each other. The prize? Unlimited power. The cost? Everything. This is the Fourth Holy Grail War, and nobody is walking away clean. We start with a narrator setting the stage, describing a mysterious man in white who was brought into existence for a great purpose, destined to await his calling. When the prophesied moment arrives, a woman appears to fulfill her divine promise. Meanwhile, on Earth, a brutal battle erupts between Magi and mythical beings. Mages are throwing around magical abilities left and right, dropping enemies one after another. The conflict escalates when both sides call forth their servants, pitting legendary warriors against each other in mortal combat. The battle reaches its peak when the two strongest servants clash. Their overwhelming power creates a massive explosion that wipes out everyone on both sides. No survivors. Clean slate. Years after that devastating battle, a large, battle-scarred man with tan skin walks into the Royal Magic Academy looking for Professor Rocco Belelfaban, the head of summoning. A student eagerly leads him to the professor's office. After knocking and getting permission to enter, the visitor, whom the professor addresses as necromancer, takes a seat to hear what the professor has to say. Rocco explains the battle royale system used by Magi during the Third Holy Grail War. He reveals how foreign forces conspired to steal the Grail during transport. The artifact stayed missing until recently, when it was discovered in the possession of the Igm Millennia clan, also known as the Black Faction, who rule over Romania. One of their masters hid the Grail for 6 years while researching ways to achieve eternal youth. Because when you have a wish-granting cup, apparently the first thing you do is try to live forever. Classic. The situation gets more complicated when the Igm Millennia clan's leader announces the start of the Fourth Great Holy Grail War. Their goal? Break away from the Red Faction, the Association of Mages, and declare independence. They launch a preemptive strike expecting resistance. The Association responds by sending 50 elite Magi to crush the rebellious clan. Their mission ends in disaster when a single servant eliminates all but one of their forces. 50 mages, 1 servant. The math is not mathing in their favor. Necromancer asks what his role is in stopping this mess. Professor Rocco explains he needs to become a master, summon a servant, and team up with 6 other mages to build enough strength to face their enemies. Meanwhile, Darnik, the Igm Millennia clan's leader, is finalizing his strategy to secure their advantage in the coming war. Necromancer accepts the Association's request for help, asking for a summoning artifact in return. Professor Rocco hands over a valuable wooden relic and introduces him to his 6 fellow Magi who will fight alongside him in the Holy Grail War. After getting the intel and collecting an advance payment, Necromancer takes off. As night falls, Darnik plays chess with his servant, Avisbron. While discussing war tactics, Avisbron, showing his loyalty, intentionally loses the game and reveals their ongoing plans to create chimeras and pseudo-magi to strengthen their position. Their conversation gets interrupted by a teenage boy who oversees their operations, inviting them to inspect their newly created golems. As they walk to the lab, Avisbron shares his lifelong dream of bringing golems to life. The boy earnestly supports his master's ambition. It's almost wholesome, except for the whole building an army to wage war thing. Meanwhile, Necromancer arrives at a graveyard to perform his servant summoning ritual. He draws a magic circle, places the artifact on a stone, and starts the spell. At the same time, Darnik's Magi conduct their own servant summoning ceremonies. Both sides complete their rituals simultaneously. Darnik's servants declare their allegiance to him. Necromancer summons Morrid, a powerful woman who immediately announces she's the rightful heir to Arthur Pendragon's throne. As Morrid introduces herself and asks for her summoner's name, Necromancer just stands there frozen, completely stunned. You'd think he'd have prepared for this, but apparently not. We cut to a flashback. Years ago, a blonde woman was dragged through village streets, condemned as a witch. The villagers tied her to a stake and set it on fire. In her final moments, she dedicated her soul to her Lord and prayed for eternal peace. In the present, this same blonde woman, now summoned from the afterlife, is packing her belongings. She boards a night bus to meet her master, Necromancer. Yes, the legendary ruler of the Holy Grail War is taking public transportation. This is the kind of high-stakes fantasy warfare we're dealing with. At Darnik's castle in Igm Millennia, one particularly enthusiastic servant suggests everyone introduce themselves to create a livelier atmosphere. The Black Faction servants start sharing their identities. Siegfried as Saber, Atofo as Rider, Chiron as Archer, and so on. Before the remaining servants can reveal themselves, a royal guard interrupts and forbids further introductions. Right then, Vlad the king of Igm Millennia, shows up to deliver an inspiring speech to motivate his servants. Because nothing gets warriors hyped like a speech from a guy who's famous for impaling people. Following the summoning ritual, Necromancer reveals his true identity to his servant Morrid. He's Cigo Kyrie. She immediately criticizes his choice of summoning location, though she admits a graveyard does seem fitting for a necromancer. When Cigo playfully comments on Morrid's gender, noting that historical records described her as male, she responds by holding her sword to his throat. So that's the kind of working relationship they have. Morrid shares her ambitious plan to use the Holy Grail's power to claim her rightful position as England's ruler. Cigo accepts her goal without objection and suggests they head to church next. When Morrid questions this decision, he explains it's time they confess their sins to a priest, because apparently starting a war over a magical cup requires spiritual cleansing first. Outside Darnik's castle, one of his master mages tests his newly summoned servant, designated as Berserker, against a prepared golem. She demonstrates her incredible power by destroying the golem with one hit. One punch, one dead golem. Efficient. Inside the castle, Igm Millennia chats with her servant, Archer. She had expected a centurion, but Archer appears in human form for reasons he keeps private. Their discussion covers various aspects of the Holy Grail War, before moving on to other topics. The scene shifts to another master, a female pervert among Darnik's ranks, who inappropriately licks her servant Otto's body in her private quarters. Otto, understandably fed up with this treatment, eventually leaves to explore the town, because nothing says legendary heroic spirit like being sexually harassed by your boss. Meanwhile, the fourth master, Gord's Musk, Igm Millennia, the same guy who earlier interrupted the servants' introductions, summons his servant, Saber. When asked about his ambitions, Saber surprisingly reveals he has no personal desire for the Holy Grail. Gord's is annoyed and disappointed, so he dismisses his servant, because apparently if your legendary hero doesn't want to wish, they're useless to you. Elsewhere in the castle, the king and Darnik discuss the historical figures they've summoned as servants for their cause. They note that only one servant remains to be summoned. Jack the Ripper, the infamous assassin who terrorized England. Darnik reassures the king to be patient, promising the assassin will join their ranks soon. Because adding a serial killer to your army is always a good idea. Necromancer and Morrid arrive at the church to meet Master Shirou Katawina. After introductions, tension fills the air. Morrid senses danger and summons her sword, but Necromancer tells her to stand down. The two masters discuss their mutual enemy, Darnik, revealing his and the king's plan to summon Vlad III, a formidable vampire servant. When Shirou invites Necromancer to meet other masters, he politely declines. Later, Morrid questions his decision. Necromancer explains he doesn't trust Shirou's intentions. This earns his servant's respect. Back at the church, Shirou tells his servant to cooperate with other masters while postponing their quest for the Grail. Their conversation gets interrupted by another master complaining about his servant Spartacus, Berserker of the Red, who abandoned him to go hunting. Deep in the forest, Spartacus terrifies a hunter with his imposing presence. The man is so scared he loses control of his bladder before he can even try to claim his prey. That's the level of intimidation we're working with. As night falls, Necromancer and Morrid venture into enemy territory looking for a fight. When confronted by weak opponents, Morrid demonstrates her combat prowess by dispatching them instantly. Necromancer provides backup. After the battle, he praises her fighting abilities as they continue deeper into hostile territory. It's like a really violent date night. Meanwhile, Shirou travels to a dark location and summons Kara, the Lancer servant and son of the sun god Surya. His mission? Eliminate the supreme ruler before she can interfere with their plans. This little move suggests Shirou has some hidden intentions of claiming the Holy Grail for himself once the war is over. Because of course he does. Otto, the rider servant, endures another uncomfortable licking session with her master, sighing with relief when she's finally allowed to leave. Meanwhile, in the laboratory, a homunculus unexpectedly wakes up in his breeding tank. These homunculi are genetically engineered humans, created to provide magical energy to servants during battle. This particular homunculus has witnessed the cruel treatment of his kind. He escapes his tank and stumbles weakly through the castle corridors until Otto discovers him. Moved by compassion, she decides to hide and protect him from his captors. Castor, Darnik's servant, and the teenage boy soon discover the empty tank and start searching for the missing homunculus. Otto brings him to her room and asks Archer for help. He drops some sobering news. The boy's weakened condition means he likely won't survive beyond 3 years. Despite this grim prognosis, Otto is determined to help him anyway. Elsewhere, Shirou meets with his subordinates, informing them he's dispatched Kara to eliminate the recently arrived ruler. On a remote road, Kara intercepts Jean Dark, the blonde woman from the earlier flashback, and challenges her to combat. Just as Kara prepares to strike, Gords and his servant, Saber of the Black, arrive to assist the ruler. Gords is characteristically impulsive and eager to prove his worth to people who don't care about him. He attempts to impress the ruler. Saber and Kara exchange formal introductions before launching into their fierce battle. We get a glimpse of Saber's tragic past. He was a hero who lived solely to fulfill others' wishes. His unwavering devotion to serving others led to his death when his own people wished for his demise, a command he obediently followed. He died without ever discovering his own purpose. Now he channels that past into his fight with Kara. Meanwhile, Gords desperately seeks ruler's assistance, but she firmly refuses to intervene. As dawn approaches, Kara withdraws from the fight, concerned about Gords losing power in sunlight. Saber honors this retreat. Gords invites ruler to meet Darnik at the castle. She declines, choosing instead to head to Tryphus. The homunculus boy wakes up from a nightmare to find Otto watching over him. Archer materializes, introducing himself as Chiron, alongside rider Otto. Chiron delivers the harsh truth about the boy's 3-year life expectancy, leaving him devastated at the limited time he has to make his mark on the world. They leave him alone to process this news. In the castle yard, Berserker of Black, Frankenstein's monster, meets her master and shares her origin story. She was a monster assembled from body parts who desperately sought a companion in her previous life. When her creator refused, she chose self-immolation, only to be reborn years later. After hearing her tale, Frankenstein learns of her master's wish to protect his sister and offers him a flower. It's probably the most wholesome interaction anyone in this war is going to have. Nearby, Fior and Archer discuss their goals. Archer seeks immortality. Fior simply wants to walk again. Simple wishes, terrible way to achieve them. Necromancer and Morrid's debate about venturing outside gets interrupted by an urgent magical message from Shirou, warning them about Berserker Spartacus's destructive advance toward Darnik's castle. As Berserker approaches, he enthusiastically demolishes the defensive golems stationed outside. Nearby, 2 members of the Red faction, Achilles Rider and his sister Atlanta Archer, watch Berserker's rampage while discussing intervention strategies. Atlanta expresses frustration about not meeting her master days after being summoned, but Achilles explains that masters typically stay hidden. Their conversation gets interrupted by another participant joining the fray. At the castle entrance, Darnik, the king, and their coalition of servants and masters gather to address the approaching Berserker threat. Inside the castle, the rescued homunculus continues struggling to gain mobility. Otto makes the first move against Spartacus, successfully severing one of his legs. Though Berserker charges forward, he's quickly pinned down. The king and his allies join the battle, working together to defeat the Berserker of Red. As they prepare to depart after their victory, Castor detects the presence of 2 hidden servants in the trees and stays behind to handle them. Taking advantage of the chaos, Otto hurries back to the castle, using the distraction as cover to smuggle the homunculus to safety. Saber and Berserker of Black engage Achilles in combat. He's clearly enjoying testing their capabilities and limitations. The fight intensifies when Achilles calls in his sister Atlanta, who successfully disables Saber with a well-placed arrow. Berserker responds by unleashing her magical powers to face Achilles alone. Watching from afar, Gords grows increasingly frustrated with Saber's performance and tries to force him to use forbidden powers against their opponents. Castor intervenes just in time to prevent this rule violation. Gords withdraws Saber from the battle, leaving Berserker to face the 2 enemies alone. Fortunately, Archer from Darnik's faction provides support, helping counter Atlanta's arrows while Berserker charges at Achilles. Recognizing the unfavorable situation, Achilles summons his horses and makes a tactical retreat. Meanwhile, Otto's attempt to escort the homunculus through a supposedly discreet route through the castle backfires when they get spotted. Castor immediately alerts everyone to Ryder's betrayal of Igm Millennia, announcing that she's fleeing to the woods with the escaped homunculus. Orders are given to prevent their escape by any means necessary. The homunculus stops during their escape, questioning Otto about the purpose of his rescue given his brief life expectancy. Otto encourages him to embrace freedom in his remaining years. Their conversation gets interrupted by golems emerging from the ground to confront the traitorous Rider, followed by Saber and Gordes joining the pursuit. Otto engages Saber to buy time, ordering the homunculus to flee. Gordes catches up and knocks the boy off balance. This moment triggers something in the homunculus. He awakens his magical abilities to attack Gordes, who deflects the assault and strikes him down. Pinned against a tree, Otto appeals to Saber's conscience, urging him to help the boy achieve a meaningful life. Moved by this plea, Saber confronts Gordes, offering him a chance to switch allegiances and aid the homunculus. When Gordes responds with more hollow rhetoric, Saber's patience wears thin. The situation takes an unexpected turn as Ruler's servant arrives to mediate. Saber, after apologizing for harming the boy, performs an extraordinary act of sacrifice. He removes his own heart and gifts it to the homunculus. This selfless gesture stuns Ruler to her core. With his remaining moments, Saber entrusts Ruler with the boy's future, expressing gratitude for finally discovering his true purpose before fading away. The homunculus revives as the new heart starts beating, and Jean Dark, the Ruler, vows to protect him with her life. The homunculus boy dreams of encountering a dragon that marks his hand, designating him as a new master. As he wakes up, he finds Jean Dark and Otto by his side. Otto expresses joy at seeing him. Jean examines his new heart's condition, confirms it's working properly, and reveals everything, from Saber's sacrifice to how the boy got here. The king, accompanied by Darnik and others, soon catches up. Otto positions herself protectively in front of the boy, facing her former comrades. Gordes regains consciousness and expresses remorse for his failures. The king demands the homunculus boy's return for further experimentation, but Jean intervenes, identifying herself as the ruler appointed to oversee the Holy Grail War. She declares the boy is now under her protection and refuses to surrender him. Despite the king's attempts at negotiation, Jean remains resolute, honoring her agreement with Saber. The king reluctantly withdraws but challenges Ryder's loyalty, questioning if she views her actions as national betrayal. Otto responds confidently, saying she acted righteously and has no regrets. The king commands Castor to seize Otto and invites the ruler to align with him. Jean maintains her stance of neutrality throughout the war. As the king and his followers return to the castle with the captured Ryder, Otto calls out to the boy, urging him to embrace his second chance at life fully. After they leave, Jean leads the boy to a different location. In another part of the world, Shirou and his covert team discuss Spartacus's capture. They deduce the berserker's unusual defiance against his master must have come from his master's actions. The meeting concludes without any definitive conclusions. Meanwhile, Ryder's master harshly punishes Otto for betraying the clan and prioritizing a homunculus over her duties. She confines Otto in a dungeon to contemplate her actions. After the master leaves, Archer appears before a worried Ato, reassuring her about the boy's safety. He emphasizes that the ruler is no ordinary guardian. After walking several miles through the woods, Ruler and the boy pause for a conversation. The homunculus shows Ruler the sword from Otto, seeking guidance on its purpose. Ruler advises him to keep it. It was a gift from his savior. The boy continues forward with a somber, distant expression. Jean feels troubled by recurring unsettling visions of the boy. She initiates their formal introduction, encouraging him to choose his own name. He selects Siegfried, after the Saber hero who sacrificed his heart to save him. Jean approves warmly and shares her own name. Determined to teach him about life, she starts with the basics, offering Sai food and teaching him how to eat, because apparently a legendary hero has to teach a magical boy how to use a fork. At the Igm Millennia castle, Darnik and the king deliberate over Ryder's betrayal. The king decides to dismiss the matter for now. They have more pressing concerns, particularly assassin Jack the Ripper, who has apparently slain her master. Their discussion is interrupted by an incoming message somewhere in Igm Millennia territory. Jack the Ripper and her new master, whom she affectionately calls Mom, comfort one another as they prepare to rest for the upcoming day. This is somehow both wholesome and deeply disturbing. Meanwhile, Ruler and her companion pause at a cliff's edge. She asks Jean about her need for food, noting that servants, being spirits, don't require sustenance. Jean explains she isn't truly a servant. She inhabits a borrowed body for her mission. She reveals her unusual summoning might indicate serious irregularities in the approaching Holy Grail War. C suggests his own escape might be another anomaly, but Jean encourages him to embrace his chance at life. The frustrated Gordes drowns his sorrows in drink, lamenting his failures with his servant. As Berserker of Black chats with her master, Fior interrupts to report Jack the Ripper's location. Jean leads C to a barnyard, convincing the farmer to shelter him. During their farewell, C asks if he'll see Ruler again. Jean confirms they will meet, but withholds that their next encounter might be on opposing sides of the battlefield, because of course it will. A glimpse into Morrid's past life reveals her claim to England's throne as Arthur Pendragon's daughter. Yet Arthur denied her succession, deeming her unfit for kingship. The first scene shows a fatal confrontation. Arthur Pendragon defeats Morrid on the battlefield, striking her down as she charges forward. Years before this, when Morrid lived as a commoner, she secretly observed Arthur returning from conquest. A mysterious woman appeared, revealing Morrid's royal bloodline and inspiring her devotion to serve as the king's knight. Her loyal service continues until she's tasked with executing a traitor who claims the king's perfection drove his betrayal. After the execution, the eerie woman, whom Morrid calls Mother, urges her to abandon her knightly duties and claim her birthright. Morrid confronts Arthur, demanding recognition as heir, but faces rejection. Enraged, she swears vengeance. The scene shifts as Necromancer wakes up, asking Morrid to stop sharing her past life's memories through dreams. When Morrid questions this, he dismisses the subject and starts his day. During breakfast at an outdoor cafe, Necromancer gets a call from Lord Eloy about serial murders plaguing Triphis. The victims, staged magi, have been found with their souls drained, causing unrest among ordinary citizens. Eloy rules out Millennia's involvement. They wouldn't risk exposing magic to humans. Necromancer accepts the task of investigating these murders to identify the third-party killer. Meanwhile, Ryder's master, consumed by jealousy over Otto's attention to Sai, violently dismembers several homunculi. Because when you're losing a war, apparently the best strategy is to take it out on lab experiments. Over a chess game, Darnik and the king strategize their battle approach. They plan to utilize a hero's unique combat ability to reflect their homunculus core's performance and prevent a devastating attack on their center. This strategy demands immense magical power, requiring the sacrifice of a first-rate mage. They identify Gords as the prime candidate. Classic. Meanwhile, Berserker's master temporarily excuses himself to assist his sister in confronting the assassins targeting Magi throughout the area. Before leaving, he assures Berserker he'll summon her through a spell if danger arises. She silently nods. Necromancer concludes his investigation and shares his findings with a restless Morrid. The autopsy reports reveal a disturbing pattern. The assassin not only drains victims' souls, but also harvests their hearts for magical energy consumption and storage. Realizing they're now the only remaining mages in Triphis, Necromancer and Morrid prepare their equipment, waiting for nightfall to confront this mysterious intruder. As night falls, Jack the Ripper initiates her plan. She shapeshifts to impersonate Shirou's servant, briefly conferring with him before starting her nightly hunt. Meanwhile, Necromancer and his servant position themselves in a Triphis alleyway. Suddenly, poisonous gas engulfs the area, knocking Necromancer unconscious. Morrid swiftly carries him to safety and maintains vigilance. Jack the Ripper emerges stealthily behind Necromancer for a lethal strike, but Morrid intercepts her attack. When the Ripper releases another poison mist, Morrid dons her full armor and unleashes red thunder to dissipate it, finally revealing her opponent clearly. Their intense battle continues until an arrow from Fior's archer interrupts their duel. Fior, compensating for her disabled legs with mechanical spider-like appendages, engages Necromancer in combat. Morrid, detecting Archer's location, abandons her fight with Jack to confront him instead. The archer, prepared for her approach, successfully wounds Morrid as she advances. Meanwhile, Necromancer faces Fior, who warns him about his territorial transgression. Dismissing her cautions, Necromancer launches an attack. Fior counters effectively, forcing him into a defensive position. However, Necromancer draws on his combat experience to break free and mount his own offensive against Fior. As Necromancer prepares his final strike against Fior, Calls of Igm Millennia intervenes, deflecting the attack and turning the tables. When Necromancer demands a fair mage battle, their refusal prompts him to abandon honorable tactics. Meanwhile, Archer's apparent advantage over Morrid reveals itself as her clever trap. He quickly sends a telepathic warning to Fior, urging immediate retreat. Fior agrees, arranging to regroup at a predetermined location. Shortly after, Archer, his forces, and the assassin withdraw from combat. Necromancer reunites with Morrid, and they commandeer a car to reach Triphis. At the rendezvous point, Fior reprimands Calls for his impulsive rescue, deeming it unsuitable behavior for a master. Despite Calls' attempts to justify his actions, Fior insists he adhere to Darnik's strategy, explaining that while his intervention helped, risking 2 masters for her survival would be too costly. The Assassin of Black, reverting from her disguise as Shirou's servant, returns to her master's side. Her master tends to her injuries and offers the final heart harvested from their mage victims. Jack consumes it, using its magical energy to heal her wounds. With their supply depleted, master and servant plot their return to Triphis to collect more hearts from the resident mages. Disguised as a human, Jean Dark begins her search for Triphis' church, using a locator spell to guide her way. Meanwhile, at the barnyard, the farmer serves C coffee after breakfast. Over his morning drink, C contemplates the concept of freedom, asking the farmer's perspective. The farmer responds philosophically. Despite people's belief in their freedom, everyone faces constraints that limit their progress. The best they can do is live according to their own understanding. Though Sai struggles to grasp this concept, the farmer encourages him to follow his desires before leaving. Upon entering the church, Jean triggers hidden traps but quickly breaks free. In that moment, she experiences an ominous vision concerning Shirou, the resident priest. Simultaneously, Shirou wakes up from a disturbing nightmare featuring a battlefield strewn with corpses and consumed by flames. Finding the assassin sitting nearby, he makes her swear not to repeat such an intrusion. Elsewhere, Darnik reports to the king about an unusual increase in artifacts entering the country. The king interprets this as the Red faction preparing for conflict and advises Darnik to ready their defenses for an impending attack. Shirou convenes with Lancer and his master to discuss battle strategy. Lancer's master expresses his preference to observe and document the war rather than participate. Shirou's servant warns against underestimating their strength, citing their collection of powerful artifacts that could intimidate even the ruler. Meanwhile, Jean races to their location, only to witness the hanging gardens of Babylon emerge and rise into the sky as a floating fortress. Shirou and his allies prepare for battle as they advance toward Igm Millennia's castle. Hours later, C wakes up contemplating his life's purpose, while Jean pursues the airborne fortress heading toward Darnik's domain. The Red faction deploys their zombie army as ground forces during their approach. At Igm Millennia's castle, Darnik, the king, and their allies recognize the imminent threat and mobilize their defenses. The king assigns Archer to lead the homunculus army, orders Atto to unleash her noble phantasm, and deploys his remaining servants to counter the approaching enemy forces. Having finally determined his wish, Sai rises late and prepares to leave the farm, expressing gratitude to the farmer for his hospitality. As a parting gift, the farmer presents him with a belt and offers his best wishes. The king of Igm Millennia reveals his true identity. Vlad III, the legendary Lancer of Black, a feared vampire from history who had been secretly leading the clan under disguise. The impending battle forces him to unleash his true powers against their formidable opponents. As zombies mindlessly advance toward the castle, Atlanta, the Red faction's archer, launches luminous arrows at Igm Millennia's forces. Berserker of Black intercepts the attack, preventing massive casualties. Other warriors join the fight, displaying their abilities, while Shirou and Kara observe from the floating fortress. Shirou grows concerned upon noticing ruler approaching the battlefield, questioning her potential intervention. Vlad III enters the battle, decimating the zombie forces before confronting Kara, the Lancer of Red. Their exchange of words precedes an intense battle. Atlanta attempts to assist Kara but is swiftly repelled by Vlad. After pinning Kara down, Vlad's finishing strike is thwarted when Kara summons hellish flames to break free. Though Vlad acknowledges Kara's strength, he warns of his depleting magical energy as their fight continues. The arrival of other mages shifts the battle's dynamics. Achilles confronts and defeats Castor, his golems, and intervening soldiers before challenging Millennia's heroes. When Archer of Black attacks from afar, Achilles pursues him into the woods. There, Archer surprisingly targets Achilles' heel, his sole vulnerability. This precise attack triggers Achilles' memories of a Centurion guardian who had revealed this weakness to him during his childhood. While Achilles ponders Archer's knowledge of his weakness, another arrow flies toward him. He evades it and questions Archer's motives. Archer responds cryptically, warning that Achilles must fight seriously or face a second death. On another part of the battlefield, C tends to injured homunculus survivors. When questioned about his assistance, he reveals his mission to liberate his fellow homunculi from Igm Millennian oppression. Atop the floating fortress, Shirou expresses his desire to join the battle. His assassin servant questions this decision given his status as a master. Shirou explains his wish to test his creator's approval of his actions, prompting the servant to grant him her power before he descends to the battlefield. Necromancer and Morrid race frantically toward the conflict, eager to participate. Meanwhile, Berserker of Black eliminates the remaining zombies in her sector. Atto attempts to infiltrate the floating fortress on her flying mount, but Shirou's servant dispatches flying zombies to intercept her. C seizes the opportunity of weakened defenses to guide a rescued homunculus into the castle, intent on freeing more captives. Castor successfully resurrects Spartacus, the Berserker of Red, convincing him to join their cause. Spartacus charges mindlessly into battle. The scene culminates with Berserker, Frankenstein, confronting Shirou in the woods. Darnik reveals the tale of how he became the Greater Grail's keeper for over 50 years. He recounts traveling to Japan to participate in the Holy Grail War with the intention of claiming the artifact. He collaborated with German forces to steal the Grail. But when success was near, he turned against them, securing the prize for himself and the Igm Millennia clan. Now facing another Grail War, Darnik vows to defend his treasured artifact with his life. Meanwhile, Shirou engages in combat with Frankenstein in the forest, trying to persuade her to join his side. Frankenstein stays loyal and refuses. The Red faction's caster servant observes their battle from afar, documenting the confrontation. As the fight intensifies, Shirou unveils his noble phantasm, a sword of lightning. Frankenstein, unwavering in her resolve, launches herself at Shirou with full force. Elsewhere, amidst a horde of zombies, Jean Dark detects the ongoing battle between Shirou and Frankenstein. This indicates another master on the floating island. She pushes through the zombie masses, determined to reach the floating island to confront a master of the Red faction. Simultaneously, Otto continues eliminating the flying zombies that block her path to the floating fortress. At one point, she deploys her massive horn, obliterating the zombies entirely. With these obstacles gone, she heads toward the fortress. The fierce battle between Vlad III and Kara rages on. Spartacus tries to interfere, but Kara leaves Atlanta to handle him. Despite Atlanta's precise archery, her arrows prove ineffective against Spartacus's remarkable regenerative abilities. Even when she unleashes her most powerful arrow attack, reducing Spartacus to pieces, his body continues reconstructing itself. Meanwhile, Achilles finds himself in a difficult position against Chiron, who delivers a devastating blow to his stomach. Claiming to know all his techniques, Achilles responds with a smile, executing moves that deviate from his usual style. Though surprised, Chiron manages to evade these attacks unscathed. At the castle's laboratories, CA begins freeing the imprisoned homunculi. In another part of the battle, Otto confronts the assassin of Red, challenging her to combat. Using the fortress's power, the assassin blasts Otto from the sky. Sai, while guiding his fellow homunculi to safety, witnesses Otto's fall. He respectfully requests permission from his companions to rescue Otto, and upon receiving their approval, rushes to save them. Following a harsh impact with the ground, Otto regains consciousness. Before she can fully assess her situation, Morrid, the Saber of Red, arrives at the battlefield with her master necromancer in their vehicle. They stop directly in front of Otto, immediately recognizing her. Necromancer retreats to the car, leaving Morrid to engage in her initial battle with Otto. The Red faction's assassin spots Ruler charging toward Shirou's position. She desperately tries to halt Ruler's advance, warning Shirou to evacuate the battlefield immediately. Heeding the warning, Shirou begins his retreat to the fortress, but Frankenstein persists in her pursuit. To shake her off, Shirou commands his caster to intervene. The caster casts a spell that plunges Frankenstein into an emotional abyss, forcing her to experience visions of her former master and creator, finally showing appreciation for her existence. However, Frankenstein demonstrates remarkable mental fortitude by breaking free from the illusion. Refusing to succumb to the deception, she releases a cry of anguish until her master manages to soothe her. Meanwhile, Morrid engages Otto in battle, deliberately provoking her by mocking Siegfried, the Black faction's Saber, who sacrificed himself to protect a boy. The taunt proves effective as Otto, overcome with emotion, leaves herself vulnerable to attack. Elsewhere, the Red faction's assassin continues her assault on Ruler Jean, but Jean skillfully deflects each attack while maintaining her advance toward the fortress. In response, Shirou instructs Atlanta to redirect Spartacus toward their shared enemy, Jean, hoping this strategy will prevent her from reaching the fortress. Sai arrives just in time to save Otto from Morrid's finishing blow. He challenges Morrid directly, drawing her attention away from Otto. Morrid shifts her focus to Sai, swiftly knocking him down. Using her remaining strength, Otto desperately tries to keep Morrid away from Si, urging him to escape the deadly blade. Yet Sai refuses to flee, determined to protect Otto. Frankenstein soon joins the fray, preparing for one final self-sacrificing attack. Her master channels all his remaining magical energy to support Frankenstein's powerful assault. In another location, Jack the Ripper finishes her brutal work of cutting down homunculus magi, preparing to harvest their hearts. She receives a call from her mother requesting her return home. The thunderous sounds of clashing magical powers from the nearby battlefield catch her attention. After ending the call, she proceeds in the opposite direction. Meanwhile, Calls exhausts his magical reserves while watching his servant Frankenstein battle Morrid. The fight intensifies when Morrid, overcome with rage, unleashes her red thunder powers. Though Berserker manages to evade most of the attack, her hand is severed in the process. Morrid approaches Frankenstein's immobilized form and drives her sword through her body. Sai desperately tries to restrain Morrid, who dismissively kicks him aside. When she questions his determination to fight, Si declares he'll do anything to protect Otto, his liberator, from slavery. He launches a weak attack, which Morrid easily evades before piercing his heart with her sword. Otto's anguished cry precedes her charge at Morrid, who repels her effortlessly. Before delivering the final blow, Necromancer alerts Morrid to Berserker's disappearance. Frankenstein suddenly emerges behind Morrid, latching onto her for a final self-destructive attack. Calls supports her by expending his remaining mana into Frankenstein's suicidal blasted tree technique. The massive attack forces even Otto to retreat. However, when the dust settles, Morrid stands with only minor armor damage, rendering Frankenstein's sacrifice seemingly futile. Meanwhile, Sai experiences a vision where he lives through Siegfried's life in an instant. He encounters the hero himself and engages in a profound discussion about heroic principles. The vision culminates with Sai facing a sword and stone, guarded by a dragon. Encouraged by the real Siegfried, Sai musters all his strength to draw the sword. This act resurrects him as Siegfried, the true saber of the Black faction. Morrid, though shocked by this transformation, readies herself for battle. In the floating fortress, Shirou, Redcaster, and Assassin ponder this unexpected revival of Saber of Black within a homunculus's body. Though frustrated, Shirou predicts Siegfried won't survive long in Sia's weak form, yet acknowledges the boy's determination and watches with interest. The battle intensifies as Morrid requests her master's power enhancement through a command spell. Necromancer obliges, and she launches herself at Siegfried. He successfully blocks her attack and responds with a powerful counterstrike. As Jean continues her advance toward the floating fortress, she encounters Atlanta, the Red faction's archer. Atlanta successfully delays her until Spartacus arrives, then leaves Ruler to face him alone. Meanwhile, the Sabers from both factions emerge from their initial clash, preparing for another round of combat. Vlad and Lancer continue their intense exchange of blows before pausing to converse. Lancer probes Vlad's motivations regarding the war, questioning his ambition to build a nation despite apparent lack of public support. After delivering some provocative words, Lancer succeeds in provoking Vlad, who responds by using his noble phantasm to impale Kara's body and pin him down once again. Just as Vlad moves to deliver the finishing blow, Lancer invokes a fire spell that incinerates his restraints. Moments later, Lancer rises, ready to launch his counterattack. Spartacus takes a disturbing approach to power enhancement, deliberately attracting zombies to attack him, drawing strength from his wounds. Jean observes this unsettling display of the monster's increasing power. Even the assassin, watching from the floating fortress, expresses revulsion at the hero's noble phantasm. Once Spartacus completes his grotesque transformation, he launches his assault on Jean, who skillfully evades each attack. Morrid's frustration grows with each attack as Siegfried continues to block her strikes. When Siegfried finally reaches his limit and collapses, Morrid celebrates prematurely. Unaware of Spartacus hurtling toward her, she manages to cleave Spartacus in half with one strike, but Necromancer, recognizing the impending danger, urges her immediate retreat. Meanwhile, Jean catches up to Otto and the fallen homunculus boy, reprimanding them for challenging a superior opponent. After hearing their explanation, she decides to assist them. Jean activates her noble phantasm, manifesting as a glowing sword that creates a protective barrier against Spartacus's attacks. Otto and C express relief at surviving the first wave. The battle between Vlad and Kara reaches a stalemate until Kara suddenly withdraws to consult his master. While Vlad ponders this development, he receives troubling news about events at the castle. The Red faction has been using their floating fortress to excavate deep enough to retrieve the Greater Grail, which they begin pulling aboard. Darnik, longtime guardian of Igm Millennia, vows to protect his kingdom at any cost. He leads Vlad and their remaining forces in an infiltration of the floating fortress. However, Kara and his masters intercept them, initiating another confrontation. Kara corners Vlad again, but this time, Vlad notices his powers weakening within Red's territory. During the battle, Vlad recalls a conversation with Darnik weeks before the war about his ultimate noble phantasm, which he had sworn never to use. He had made Darnik promise to stop him if pushed to the extreme. Now faced with the theft of their Holy Grail, Darnik finds himself forced to break that promise, compelling Vlad to unleash his forbidden noble phantasm. Standing before his church, Shirou reflects on the previous Holy Grail War, recalling his first encounter with Darnik and the loss of his comrades. He expresses gratitude for the war's outcome and his gained powers, hoping for divine favor in the current conflict. Meanwhile, the Red faction's assassin monitors battle developments on their screen. Within the fortress, Vlad and Lancer continue their fierce combat, with Vlad growing progressively weaker. He soon realizes his severe disadvantage when Lancer reveals the fortress's conditions. Despite Lancer offering him an honorable retreat, Vlad's pride compels him to fight on, leading to his cornering once again. As Lancer prepares to deliver the final blow, Darnik intervenes, urging Vlad to unleash his noble phantasm. This transformation would turn him into Dracula, the vampire form he had sworn never to embrace again. Vlad resists Darnik's pressure to use this ultimate power, but Darnik's desperation to reclaim the Grail drives him to forcibly trigger Vlad's transformation through magic. During this process, Vlad tries to kill Darnik, but before his death, Darnik transfers his consciousness into Vlad's body, eventually gaining complete control over the vampire form. Achilles attacks first, but finds himself pinned down by Darnik. Before Darnik can drink his blood, Chiron swiftly intervenes, pushing Achilles to safety. Darnik proceeds to transform 3 Red faction guards into vampires, who then begin spreading the vampiric curse to others. Chiron warns Achilles that despite his invincibility, Darnik's bite could still turn him into a vampire, rendering him useless to their cause. Though Darnik targets the more powerful servants and their masters, they successfully defend against his attacks. Inside Igm Millennia Castle, Calls consults with his sister Fior about their current situation. While their leaders are engaged in battle, Gordis joins their discussion, seeking updates on the war, followed by Rosh, the young assistant who confirms the laboratories remain operational. Fior, recognizing the need to maintain the castle, assigns tasks. Rosh to gather golems for repairs, Gordis to contact their relatives for support, and Calls to collect surviving golems and homunculi from the battlefield. Each member quickly departs to fulfill their duties. Jean arrives at the floating fortress, proposing a temporary alliance to combat vampire Darnik. All servants agree to cooperate against this common threat. Undaunted by his increasing opponents, Darnik continues his assault against all servants. During the battle, Kara, the Red Faction's Lancer, uses his hell flames to immobilize the monster. However, before he can finish Darnik, Shirou and the assassin prevent the servants from assisting the Black Faction. Seizing this opportunity, Vlad breaks free from Lancer's grip to pursue the Grail. Ruler and Chiron, the Black Faction's archer, give chase, encountering automated defenses along the way. Archer remains behind to handle these obstacles, while Jean continues her pursuit. Darnik eventually reaches the church but finds himself trapped at its entrance, facing his old enemy, Shirou. Their encounter reveals a complex history, with Darnik expressing disbelief at Shirou's survival. During their exchange, Shirou methodically destroys Darnik using his holy swords, reducing him to ashes amid agonizing screams. Jean arrives to witness this horrific scene and demands Shirou's true identity. He reveals himself as the first servant of the ruler faction. When questioned about his illegal participation in the war, Shirou justifies his actions as necessary for humanity's salvation. In the aftermath, Otto scolds Si for risking his life to save her. Si firmly responds that he couldn't remain passive while his people face destruction, vowing to continue fighting until his kind achieves freedom and safety. Impressed by his determination, Otto commends his courage and pledges her support for future battles. During their conversation, Otto's master, the eccentric woman known for her bizarre behavior, appears on the battlefield with malicious intent. On the floating fortress, Jean persistently questions Shirou about his motives. He claims his sole purpose is humanity's salvation from itself. Jean reminds him that as a ruler, interfering with humans violates sacred laws and risks divine punishment. Dismissing her warnings with contempt, Shirou expresses his frustration with humanity's recurring mistakes and his determination to intervene. When Jean inquires about the Red Faction's fate, Shirou reveals he eliminated them after they served their purpose. Semiramis, the Red Faction's assassin, joins their discussion as other Red Faction servants arrive at the church. Shirou explains he acquired their master's command spells to control the servants. Achilles, enraged by this revelation, tries to attack Shirou, but is blocked by Kara, the Red Faction's Lancer. The other servants express surprise at Kara's apparent allegiance, though he clarifies he merely acts in the faction's interest rather than choosing sides. Shirou then shatters their temporary alliance by turning the Red Faction against the Black. On the battlefield, Otto's master launches into a barrage of insults about Otto's identity as a spirit and hero. Despite Otto's diplomatic responses, her master's anger intensifies. Concerned for Sai's safety, Otto urges him to flee. However, her master immobilizes Si and uses a command spell to force Otto's sword against him. As Otto struggles helplessly against the command, Morrid intervenes, swiftly decapitating Otto's master before leaving to rejoin Necromancer. With her master's death, Otto begins to fade from existence. Si quickly forms a contract with her, becoming her new master through his command spell before taking his leave. Shirou, having gathered the strongest servants, extends an invitation to the Black Faction servants to join his cause. Only Avisbron, the Black Faction's caster, accepts. Chiron, enraged by this betrayal, tries to strike Avisbron down, but Semiramis intercepts the attack. Under her orders, Caster summons golems to trap his former allies, though Morrid swiftly destroys them, allowing the servants to escape the fortress. Avisbron's alliance with Shirou comes with one condition. His master Rosh must remain unharmed. During their escape, Jean explains to Chiron her summoning purpose, to prevent Shirou from disrupting the world's balance through his interference. Meanwhile, Sai returns to the castle to aid injured civilians and proceeds to the homunculus laboratory to negotiate their release. Gordis strongly opposes freeing the homunculi, fearing the clan's vulnerability without them. As Si argues for their human rights against enslavement, Fior receives urgent news from Chiron about Castor's betrayal, warning that Rosh might be used as a core for Castor's noble phantasm. However, the warning comes too late. Rosh has already left to meet Castor by a river to deliver an object. A mysterious bearded man once visited Earth, becoming deeply troubled by humanity's destructive treatment of the planet and its inhabitants. He longed for divine intervention while there was still hope for salvation. In present times, Necromancer and his servant Morrid discuss their strategy following the Red faction's defeat. Noticing Morrid's gloomy demeanor, Necromancer playfully questions her decision to spare C and his companions. Morrid admits to acting on instinct, driven by a natural impulse to rescue them from their cruel master. Meanwhile, C and his fellow homunculi work to clear debris from the recent attack. When Jean appears, she reprimands C for joining the battle despite needing rest and avoiding conflict. C defends his actions, explaining he couldn't stand by while his allies face destruction from masters and servants. Jean accepts his reasoning, acknowledging she must now consider him a key player in the war. When Gords and Fior learn of Darnik's actions at the floating fortress, they're stunned, but quickly focus on countering Castor's impending assault. Chiron reveals to them that Castor plans to use his master Rosh as the core of his noble phantasm golem. Rosh confronts his servant Avisbron, demanding answers for this betrayal. Avisbron reveals his deep-seated hatred for humans and his mission to purge humanity while recreating the Garden of Eden. Realizing his pleas won't sway Avisbron, Rosh accepts his destiny and merges with the golem. As this colossal being walks, it transforms the surrounding landscape into Eden. Avisbron mounts his creation, beginning their advance toward the Igm Millennia castle. Otto joins her new master C on the castle roof to discuss the recent battle, but their conversation is interrupted by Avisbron's golem. The massive creation consumes 2 homunculi and waits for the other masters and servants to confront it. C and Rider Otto are first to arrive, halting the golem's advance and questioning Avisbron's motives. Despite Avisbron's plea for understanding, Rider remains determined to destroy him. Chiron suddenly strikes, taking down Avisbron with multiple arrows. Before vanishing, Avisbron issues final commands to his golem. The golem, surviving its master's disappearance, becomes more aggressive and launches attacks against its opponents. Otto mounts her flying creature to attack from above, but the golem deflects her assault and targets C instead. Jean intervenes just in time to shield Z from harm. The primordial golem proves invulnerable to all attacks due to its overwhelming power, despite not having completed its transformation. Fior analyzes the golem's heat signature and shares her findings with Archer. Realizing he needs substantial magical energy to strike its core, Archer requests Jean summon another servant. She calls forth Morrid, and Archer reveals his strategy. The plan requires Psy to transform into the real Siegfried again, allowing all 3, Morrid, Archer, and Siegfried, to launch a simultaneous attack. This concentrated magical assault should prevent the monster from regenerating. Morrid asks Jean to grant both herself and Psy command spells for their transformations. Though hesitant, Jean complies, and Psy transforms into Siegfried. With all warriors in position, Archer, Siegfried, and Morrid execute a spectacular display of power and skill, ultimately reducing the golem to fragments. On the floating fortress, Shirou warns Atlanta and Achilles to prepare for potential pursuit by Jean. Achilles, unconcerned about Jean, confronts Shirou with questions before accepting his leadership. He first inquires about their previous masters, and Shirou reveals they're contained within the fortress after being poisoned. Though Achilles is horrified by this revelation, Shirou shows no guilt, explaining the masters would have done the same to obtain the Greater Grail. Atlanta quickly accepts Shirou's authority, while Achilles asks one final question: whether Shirou plans to eliminate them too. Shirou assures them of his genuine care. Shirou then asks about their wishes from the Grail. Achilles expresses his desire to live as a hero, while Atlanta wishes for all children to be loved. When Semiramis mocks Atlanta's wish, Shirou silences her. Kara simply requests a rematch with Siegfried, the Saber of Black. Shirou agrees to their terms and welcomes them to his cause. As they settle these matters, the group awaits Shirou's explanation of his plan to save humanity. Meanwhile, the Igm Millennia clan's remaining members gather to discuss their strategy. Gordes dismisses Shirou's world-saving ambitions as fantasy, but Fior, the clan's acting leader, recognizes Shirou's magical capabilities, especially with the Holy Grail in his possession. With Necromancer and Morrid now allied with the Black faction, she advises launching an assault on the floating fortress before it's too late. Facing a shortage of servants, they need additional support. Necromancer and his servant volunteer their assistance, which Fior accepts. Chiron escorts Fior to her room by wheelchair, sensing her unease but remaining silent. Later, he discusses his concerns with Fior's brother Calls, expressing doubt about her fitness to be both master and clan ruler. Calls shares a childhood story about Fior, revealing her deep sensitivity to death and losing pets or people she cares about. Understanding this vulnerability, Calls agrees to discuss with Fior whether she truly wishes to lead Millennia. Chiron expresses gratitude before departing. That evening, Jean distributes command spells giving Morrid 1 and C2, warning him specifically against using the final spell due to its potentially fatal consequences. Despite C's protests, Jean insists he comply. Later, Necromancer confides in his servant about being the last of the Cigo family, sharing how an attempted crest transfer to an adopted child resulted in tragedy, leading to his reluctance about crest transfers. When Morrid questions their need to stay with their allies instead of seeking the Holy Grail independently, Necromancer advises patience, suggesting they conceal their intentions until the right moment to claim the Grail arrives. Morrid approves of this strategic thinking. At the castle, Jean contemplates Ca's future well-being while gazing at her reflection. Meanwhile, Gordes discovers C and Otto treating wounded homunculi in a makeshift medical unit. Showing unexpected compassion, Gordes offers to help, explaining to Sai that he wishes to atone for his treatment of C. Freed. A homunculus boldly confronts Gordes about his flaws, impulsiveness, self-centeredness, arrogance, quick temper, and Gordes acknowledges these shortcomings and continues treating the wounded. On the floating fortress, Red Faction's caster joins other servants on the balcony. When Achilles questions whether he knew of Shirou's plans, Caster confirms his awareness and commitment to supporting mankind's salvation. Inside, Shirou reinforces his dedication to his world-saving mission. Jack the Ripper continues her annual heart-hunting ritual, interrogating a mage for information. Despite promising to spare him in exchange for information, she rips out his heart after he reveals what she wants to know. Meanwhile, Jean confides in her host, Letitia, about a troubling vision showing her future betrayal and death at her comrades' hands. When asked about her feelings, Jean expresses no resentment, only hoping for the war's end. She remains undecided about her thoughts on Shirou. The next day, Jean encounters Sai in the castle corridors as he delivers supplies to the nursing home. Though she offers assistance, he declines, only to collapse moments later. Jean brings C to bed, where he wakes up to find Chiron, his servant, and others watching over him. Chiron's analysis reveals that C's frequent transformations are gradually converting him permanently into the real C. Freed. Sai faces a choice: maintain his current form or accept the transformation into C. Freed. Left alone to contemplate this decision, C ultimately chooses to remain true to his original identity until the end. During their subsequent clan meeting, the group learns of Jack the Ripper's violent rampage across the city. Fior requests Jean's help in stopping the Ripper, gaining everyone's support. Chiron asks Fior to describe the assassin, while Otto warns them about the dangers of confronting Jack with limited information about her capabilities. Despite these concerns, they all prepare for the inevitable confrontation. The servants investigate Tryphus, discovering 8 new victims with their hearts forcibly removed. While analyzing the assassin's motives, Calls attempts to access a dead mage's final memories. He quickly becomes overwhelmed by the excruciating pain the victim experienced, repeatedly muttering, "I know them all," before losing consciousness. Chiron revives him and deciphers the meaning behind these words, leading to a horrifying realization. The castle is the assassin's next target. Calls frantically calls to warn his sister, but it's too late. A toxic mist has already enveloped the castle. The communication cuts off, prompting Archer and the others to race back. Meanwhile, CA evacuates the homunculi from the castle. Suddenly remembering the vulnerable Fior, he rushes to find her. Fior tries to escape through the poisonous mist, covering her mouth with a handkerchief. But Jack the Ripper corners her and mockingly taunts her disability. Fior deploys mechanical spider legs to flee outside, but Jack pursues her and prepares for a fatal strike. Sai intervenes just in time, wounding Jack and engaging in an intense battle. Chiron's arrival forces Jack to retreat. Once everyone regroups at the castle, Fior emphasizes the urgent need to eliminate the Ripper to prevent further casualties. Jean and Sai set out to search for Jack the Ripper in Tryphus. Despite Sai's visible exhaustion, Jean encourages him to maintain appearances since they're acting as decoys to draw out Jack. Along the way, Sai expresses concern for Letitia, Jean's host, but she assures him Letitia remains safe as long as she keeps her magical powers hidden from public view. They discuss their investigation findings during their journey. Meanwhile, in Igm Millennia town, Jack the Ripper's master plays piano for her. Jack listens intently to the graceful performance, becoming flustered when her mother offers praise. Back in Tryphus, Sai and Jean visit shops to purchase souvenirs for their companions at the castle. Noticing C's social awkwardness and uncertainty about public interaction, Jean takes it upon herself to guide him. She helps him navigate the town market and introduces him to local residents, teaching him social etiquette. Their day includes attending a wedding celebration. During an evening walk, Jean compliments Sai's growing maturity and questions his motivations for joining the hunt for the assassin. Sai reveals his desire to avenge his fallen homunculus siblings who fell victim to the assassin. Jean shares her own past, particularly her experience of being burned at the stake by the very people she had protected. Sai's comforting response causes Jean to blush, and she shyly turns away to hide her reaction. On the floating fortress, Shirou approaches Achilles to inquire about Atlanta's sudden departure. Achilles explains he dispatched her to Tryphus to monitor the town for the assassin. Before Shirou leaves, Achilles questions his master's motivation for wanting to save humanity rather than destroy them, given their poor treatment of him. Shirou reveals he abandoned his hatred after recognizing the system's fundamental flaws, expressing his determination to implement change soon and hoping for Achilles' genuine support. Impressed by Shirou's conviction, Achilles departs, briefly antagonizing Semiramis on his way inside. Meanwhile, Sai and Jean share tea at an outdoor cafe. When Si asks about her thoughts on Shirou, Jean admits her uncertainty about his plan's merit. She acknowledges that opposing him might be presumptuous if his intentions truly serve the greater good. Si expresses gratitude for her support, recognizing that she had no obligation to help him but chose to do so anyway. As night falls over Tryphus, Otto patrols the streets from her flying mount when the familiar poisonous mist begins to blanket the city, signaling Jack the Ripper's imminent attack. Jean transforms into her battle form, while Si searches for civilians caught in the open. He encounters a woman appearing injured by the mist, but as he approaches, she reveals herself as Jack's master and shoots him 3 times in the heart. Surprisingly, Sai survives, removes the bullets, and pursues her. The master quickly summons Jack the Ripper, who immediately engages Jean with a devastating slash to her abdomen. Jean's body neutralizes the curse encounters, prompting Jack to throw an unconscious civilian at her as a distraction. Though this tactic succeeds in diverting Jean's attention, Jack fails to capitalize on the opening as one of Archer's arrows strikes her. Jack's master rushes to her side, carrying the now legless Ripper on her back as they try to escape. Their retreat is cut short when Atlanta's arrow pierces the master's chest, causing her to collapse. Atlanta approaches their fallen forms and fires another arrow at Jack to ensure her defeat. However, this proves premature. Jack suddenly reanimates in a zombie-like state, intensifying the surrounding mist and growing more powerful. Atlanta becomes enveloped in Jack's thickened, poisonous mist, triggering intense hallucinations. Children's spirits surround her, questioning her decision to kill Jack's master. The vision shifts to a memory of her past life, where she recalls braiding a sister's hair. The vision dissolves, replaced by a more terrifying scene where countless children's spirits overwhelm her. Meanwhile, Sai experiences his own nightmarish trance, witnessing horrific scenes of child abuse. Jack appears to explain that this realm represents where murdered and unborn children are discarded into the River Thames. The revelation causes Sai to collapse in despair. Otto frantically searches through the mist for her master, calling out repeatedly, despite Chiron's warning that he can't detect their presence in this dimension. Jean also gets pulled into the nightmare realm but recognizes its unusual nature and protects herself with magic. Elsewhere, Sai, sitting dejectedly on a bench, encounters Jack's master, who expounds on the world's cruel nature. His despair deepens with the realization that the world might be beyond salvation. Before he can seek answers, Jack's master falls to her death. The trance intensifies as Sai finds himself confronted by Jack the Ripper and numerous children's spirits, with Jack questioning him about her mother while he remains paralyzed with fear. Jean confronts Jack in the trance realm, surprising the Ripper with her fearlessness. When Jack tries to evoke sympathy by summoning more children's spirits, Jean makes the difficult decision to announce their necessary destruction due to their soul's corruption. As she prepares to act, Atlanta intervenes, her own abandonment trauma compelling her to protect the children. She challenges Jean's decision, but Jean reveals her extensive experience across all Holy Grail Wars. Standing firm in her resolve, a child approaches Jean, seeking confirmation that death will free their souls. Upon Jean's assurance, she performs the ritual, finally granting peace to the troubled spirits. Jack accepts her fate in her final moments, acknowledging her punishment before departing. Enraged, Atlanta attacks Jean with arrows, but Jean deflects them. The arrival of Otto and Chiron forces Atlanta to retreat to the floating fortress, with Otto in pursuit. Meanwhile, Jean finds Sai and explains humanity's darker nature, pleading with him to maintain his compassion despite people's potential coldness. Sai agrees, promising to stay true to his heart. Chiron returns to report Atlanta's escape from Ato before returning to Fior. When Sai questions Atlanta's unforgiving stance toward Jean, she acknowledges Atlanta's hatred, but focuses on their immediate need to return to the castle. As they walk back, Sai contemplates his response to witnessing the world's cruel aspects before joining Jean. A plan is formed to infiltrate the floating fortress and capture the Holy Grail before it passes over Romania. The main obstacle is getting through the fortress's defensive systems. Otto suggests using her noble phantasm to break through the magical barriers. But there's a catch. It can only be activated during a new moon when there's no moonlight. Since the next new moon is 3 days away, Fior and the team schedule their attack for that time. Later that evening, Calls has a heart-to-heart conversation with his sister Fior about her ability to lead both the war effort and their clan. He expresses concern that she might not be suited for the harsh life of a mage, noting she's not only physically disabled, but also struggles emotionally with witnessing death. Gently, he suggests she transfer the family crest to him so he can take on these responsibilities. When Fior breaks down crying over her perceived weaknesses, Calls comforts her, assuring her she's perfect as she is. Meanwhile, when Jean goes to have one final pre-sleep discussion with C about the war, she accidentally encounters a naked Otto coming out of the bathroom, causing her to cry out in shock. The following day, Otto and C venture into Trifus for some fresh air. At a restaurant, Otto becomes enchanted with an appetizing pie and begs her master to buy it. As she eagerly pulls C into the establishment, they discover Morrid already there, enjoying a meal of medium-rare steak and eggs. Meanwhile, Calls and Fior begin their crest transmission ritual under Chiron's supervision, who puts them both to sleep to start the procedure. During the first phase, Calls experiences a violent reaction as his body rejects the ritual, sending him into a trance state. In this vision, he sees his sister holding her childhood pet dog, which she willingly hands over to him. When Calls wakes up and returns to normal, Fior expresses how proud she is of her brother as he recovers his strength. At the restaurant, Otto and C observe Morrid finishing her meal. After she's done, C directly asks for her opinion about people in general. Morrid lists humanity's negative aspects before turning the question back to C. He shares that he used to view humans as kind and wise beings, but his encounter with Jack the Ripper changed this perspective. Morrid responds that she doesn't waste time thinking about humans. Her focus is solely on obtaining the Grail and claiming the throne of England. After stating her ambitions, she departs. On their return journey to the castle, Sai and Otto encounter Jean, who joins them. As C walks ahead, Jean quietly asks Otto personal questions about him. Otto, detecting Jean's romantic interest in Sai, decides to play matchmaker and encourages Sai to check on Jean's well-being. When Sai confirms she's fine, he expresses his self-disappointment over failing to protect the children during his battle with Jack the Ripper. Jean consoles him, insisting he shouldn't dwell on it, and affirms that he's the best possible master for Otto. That night, as Chiron wheels Fior to her room, he tells her to keep the castle warm while he joins the others in the final battle at the floating fortress. Fior firmly declares she'll fight alongside them, leaving no room for argument. Calls accepts this with a smile, welcoming her to the team. Shortly after, Fior meets Chiron on a balcony for one last conversation before the war. In a touching moment, Chiron kneels and expresses his gratitude to Fior for being his finest master, leaving her flustered but appreciative. Meanwhile, Calls lies on his bed, contemplating the challenges ahead. Just as despair begins to creep in, one of Berserker's flowers drifts onto his hands. Elsewhere, Jean finds herself increasingly worried about Sae's participation in the war, realizing she desperately wants to keep him from risking his life in battle. Next, Necromancer and Morrid prepare their aircraft for the fortress assault. Morrid expresses concern about confronting her father, Arthur, and claiming his throne. Necromancer offers guidance on how to proceed and encourages her to prepare for the upcoming battle. Morrid shows her appreciation for his direction and steels herself for what's ahead. Meanwhile, on the floating fortress, Atlanta approaches Achilles to discuss the possibility of saving the children. After Achilles expresses his doubts about their salvation, she departs without further discussion. As dawn breaks, everyone aboard the fortress gazes at the rising sun as if anticipating something extraordinary to unfold. In the early morning hours, Gordies and several homunculi gather to bid farewell to Fior, Sai, Calls, Jean, and Otto as they depart from the castle, offering them well wishes for their journey. At the same moment, Shirou takes a final glance at the sun before initiating his plan to save humanity. As night falls, Fior's group meets up with Necromancer and Morrid at the airport for a final strategy review before boarding their planes to the floating fortress. The plan outlines that Sai must remain with his servant constantly while the others divide into teams to assault the fortress. During this meeting, Fior grants Chiron full permission to use his noble phantasm at will, a gesture he gratefully acknowledges before departing. Jean takes a moment for one last conversation with C, pleading with him to avoid unnecessary risks. She then turns to Otto, charging her with protecting her master at all costs. Otto agrees without hesitation and summons her flying mount. Once the giant eagle appears, she and C mount it and begin their ascent toward the floating garden. Before approaching the Holy Grail, Shirou uses a command spell on his caster servant, ordering him not to write this battle as a tragedy. Despite casters' protest that such a request might be impossible, Shirou reinforces the command spell to ensure compliance. Semiramis then appears to assist Shirou in reaching the Holy Grail. Upon reaching it, Shirou forces his way inside, leaving Assassin and Caster alone in the chamber. Assassin takes Caster captive and questions him about his Grail intentions. Caster deflects by asking why she's so eager to help Shirou. In her response, Assassin unknowingly reveals her deep admiration for Shirou and his ideals, expressing her desire to see and experience the world as he does. When Caster points out her obvious feelings, she becomes irritated. Before she can act on her anger, the Black faction's arrival forces her to leave Caster and organize the other servants for battle. She quickly assigns positions and objectives to her servants. Atlanta specifically requests to fight Jean, harboring a personal grudge against the ruler. Outside, Jean and her allies approach the fortress on magically powered planes. When Jean calls out to Shirou, Semiramis intercepts and silences her. The Red faction servants launch their attack against the Black faction, leading to several intense battles. Achilles engages Chiron in an energetic fight, while Atlanta confronts Jean with emotional intensity. Jean maintains her composure, carefully analyzing Atlanta's movements. Meanwhile, Chiron manages to separate Achilles from his flying steed, forcing him onto Chiron's plane. Before their decisive battle, they share a typical philosophical exchange about morality and free will, after which they charge at each other with full force. During a pause in their battle, Chiron questions Achilles about his master's plans for humanity. Achilles explains they intend to use Heaven's Feel, the third magic, to materialize all human souls and resurrect the dead, theoretically ending the need for war and saving Earth. When asked about his support for this plan, Achilles reveals his weariness of losing loved ones to conflict, expressing a simple desire for peace. Chiron sympathetically acknowledges his former student's perspective before they resume their fight. Meanwhile, Atto and Ca prepare to execute their strategy during the new moon. Atto activates her grimoire, casting a magic negation spell to counter Semiramis's attacks. Despite Semiramis intensifying her assault upon realizing Atto's spell's superior power, Atto successfully blocks it and destroys one of the fortress's 10 defense points. Frustrated, Semiramis commands Kara to intercept them. Though Kara pursues them around the fortress, Atto and Sai skillfully evade his attacks. Morrid and Necromancer arrive at this point, immediately implementing their battle strategy. As Atto continues drawing magical power from Sai to defend against Lancer's increasingly aggressive attacks, C decides to confront Lancer directly, buying time for Atto to continue dismantling the fortress's defenses. After Sai transforms into the real Saber, Lancer abandons his original mission to engage him in combat. Atto persists in destroying the remaining defense points while dodging Semiramis's attacks. Despite being struck with only 2 defense points remaining, Atto determinedly continues until all defenses are eliminated. Though this effort results in a crash landing on the fortress, just as Semiramis moves to deliver a finishing blow, Morrid arrives at the crucial moment to intervene. The battle takes a dramatic turn when Achilles reveals his noble phantasm, thrusting his spear into the plane and transporting himself and Chiron to another dimension where night becomes day. Here, Achilles proposes a duel to the death, which Chiron accepts. After sharing some final words, the warriors exchange a respectful fist bump before beginning their decisive battle. Initially, Achilles dominates the fight, landing a powerful kick to Chiron's eye. However, Chiron retaliates by targeting Achilles' heel. The battle intensifies as both warriors fight at their peak, with Chiron launching a barrage of accelerated punches at his former student. Achilles patiently waits for an opening before delivering a devastating punch to Chiron's stomach, seemingly winning the duel. In what appears to be his final moments, Chiron expresses gratitude to Achilles for granting him an honorable death. As Achilles lowers his guard in victory, Chiron makes one last request, asking Achilles to lend them his noble phantasm and support their cause. While Achilles humbly considers this request, Chiron delivers his parting gift, using the Sagarita star to create an arrow that strikes Achilles' left heel, stripping away his immortality and leaving him vulnerable. Achilles then abandons the plane, leaving Chiron to crash with it. Meanwhile, after safely landing on another functioning plane, Achilles hears Atlanta's battle with Jean reaching its climax. Finding her attacks ineffective against Jean, Atlanta resorts to her ultimate technique, activating her noble phantasm. This transformation turns her into a monstrous being with tenfold her original strength, forcing Jean to finally approach their confrontation with full seriousness. Jean tries to discourage Atlanta from sacrificing her humanity, but Atlanta remains resolute, declaring it's necessary to avenge the children by destroying their perceived killer. Meanwhile, Sai, heavily wounded from his battle with Lancer, receives an unexpected proposition. Lancer approaches both him and the Hidden Calls, requesting their help in freeing their original masters from Shirou's control. Calls agrees and sneaks into the upper chambers to liberate them. As Lancer prepares for their second round, Sai pleads with him to spare Jean after their fight. Lancer firmly refuses, stating that mercy has no place in war, and challenges C to summon the real Siegfried for their final confrontation. Sai responds by calling forth his inner self. Simultaneously, Atlanta's battle with Jean intensifies, with Atlanta gaining the upper hand as Jean holds back, still burdened by guilt over the children's fate. Atlanta demands an apology for the children's deaths, but Jean stands firm, explaining that the children's spirits were already corrupted and needed salvation. As her body deteriorates, Atlanta moves to execute her ultimate attack, successfully cornering Jean. However, just as she's about to deliver the final blow, Achilles intervenes, instructing Jean to find another opponent while he handles Atlanta. Jean seizes this opportunity to escape, leaving Achilles to face his sister. As he summons his spear for battle, Jean confronts Semiramis in her chamber, questioning her about her master's plan for humanity's salvation. Semiramis expresses unwavering faith in her master's vision, vowing to stop anyone who interferes. Recognizing that words are futile, Jean prepares for combat. Meanwhile, Sai, as Siegfried, and Lancer engage in an intense battle, both fighting at their full potential. Lancer removes all his restrictions, wielding his lance with maximum power, while Siegfried transforms into the formidable Saber of Black, matching every attack. The prolonged battle culminates in Lancer's decision to end it with his ultimate attack, dedicating it to Siegfried as his worthiest opponent. As both warriors launch their final strikes, Lancer's ultimate attack against Siegfried's blue lightning. Lancer's beam appears to overwhelm Siegfried's. However, Otto arrives at the crucial moment, using Achilles' shield Noble Phantasm to absorb Lancer's attack. This unexpected turn leaves Kara stunned, creating an opening that Siegfried exploits to deliver a fatal thrust to Lancer's heart. In his final moments, Lancer thanks Siegfried for an honorable death and apologizes to C for threatening Ruler, warning him that she will soon face their caster. C rushes into the fortress to find his beloved while Otto pays respects to the fallen Lancer, honoring his unwavering principles. Elsewhere, Achilles skillfully evades Atlanta's attacks until finding an opening to strike her stomach, immobilizing her. As she reverts to her normal form, Atlanta acknowledges her mistakes and thanks Achilles for standing by her despite her misdeeds. Both warriors meet their end, Atlanta disappearing into thin air, while Achilles succumbs to a fatal wound. Inside the floating fortress, Morrid and Necromancer search for opponents while sharing lighthearted banter about their ambitions. During a serious moment, Morrid asks her master about her future as king. Necromancer reassures her that understanding will come naturally. Their journey is interrupted when they encounter Semiramis, the Red Faction's assassin. After a heated exchange of insults, Semiramis strikes first by filling the room with poisonous mist. Morrid quickly pushes her master to safety and locks herself inside with the assassin. Though affected by the poison, Morrid maintains her stance. When Necromancer tries to use his command spells to recall Morrid, he discovers they're ineffective due to Semiramis' barrier around the room. Despite her determination, Morrid struggles to land a hit on Semiramis. Even when risking her life to close the distance in desperation, she unleashes her ultimate attack, Blood Arthur. However, Semiramis counters by activating her Noble Phantasm at the perfect moment, transforming the environment into pure poison. As the toxins break down her body, Morrid falls to her knees, immobilized. Semiramis approaches and urges her to abandon Necromancer. This moment triggers a flashback to Morrid's youth when she stood before the king's sword. Arthur Pendragon appears in this memory to warn her about the sword's consequences. Drawing it would mean abandoning her current life and everything she holds dear. As young Morrid contemplates this choice, a vision of her older self appears and pulls the sword from its resting place. In a sudden surge of determination, Morrid rises to her feet. Necromancer joins the battle, driving Assassin away from his servant long enough to inject a mysterious substance into Morrid's neck, amplifying her power tenfold. With newfound strength, Morrid charges at her enemy with lethal intent. When Semiramis summons her massive spider-like construct, Necromancer uses a command spell, ordering Morrid to defeat the Red Faction's assassin. Empowered by her master's command, Morrid not only destroys the spider construct, but also manages to shatter Semiramis' spiritual core. In the aftermath, Morrid sits beside her fatally wounded master. Accepting his inevitable death, Necromancer thanks her for their journey together and suggests she form an alliance with the Igm Millennia clan to remain in the world. But Morrid chooses to stay with her master until the end. even sharing his final moments by trying one of his cigarettes, coughing violently like any first-time smoker. In their final exchange, Necromancer asks if she truly enjoyed their last battle, to which Morrid confirms she did. As Necromancer draws his last breath, Morrid fades away into nothingness. In another location, Jean encounters her next adversary, the caster from the Red faction, using his artistic magic. Caster puts Jean into a trance, similar to what he did to Berserker. This time she finds herself transported back to her hometown. Meanwhile, C and his master become trapped while traveling to Ruler's location. Sai dismounts from Ato's hippogriff and decides to continue his journey on foot. Caster manipulates Jean's story, guiding her through the painful moments of her life. He first takes her to her hometown, making her feel responsible for her people's deaths. Then he forces her to relive the brutal battlefield where she fought for her people, though Jean manages to overcome this scene. In the third scenario, she watches in horror as her people burn Sai at the stake. This vision breaks Jean's spirit, and she pleads with Caster to spare C. Caster reveals he's merely showing her own memories, suggesting that her vision of C's burning indicates she believes she caused his death. Back at the fortress, Caster summons Marshal Gals as a servant and presents him to Jean as real. The Marshal's appearance shocks Jean, and when she tries to communicate with him, he responds by showing her Sai's severed head. Marshal questions her special affection for this young person, reminding her that as ruler, she should love all humanity equally without showing favoritism. Despite Jean's attempts to defend herself, Marshal shatters her resolve and holds her responsible for C's impending death. Within the Holy Grail, Shirou stands overlooking a battlefield ravaged by war. As he contemplates war's devastating effects, he realizes he must forgive humanity's sins and those who wronged him if he wants to save humanity. When he reaches the Grail's core, he reveals his wish to save mankind by making their souls material and granting them immortality. Meanwhile, Jean sinks into despair, struggling with her identity. Caster and Marshal mock her innocence as they welcome their master, Shirou, who returns from the Holy Grail as night approaches. Back in the normal world, Shirou informs his servants that he has altered mankind's destiny. He announces to Jean that the third magic is now complete, explaining that humans will soon return to their original form as created by their maker. Before Jean can respond, Marshal approaches her, urging her to accept C's death. However, Jean maintains her faith in C, declaring her belief that he won't die so easily. Impressed by Jean's mental fortitude, Caster expresses surprise and admiration for her strength. Suddenly, Sai bursts into the Holy Grail's chamber, rushing toward Jean. She notices his arm and realizes he's depleted all his command spells, despite her warnings against it. C explains he had no choice but to use them to defeat Lancer. Filled with regret, Jean apologizes for involving him in the war. As she steps forward to confront Shirou and stop his plan, Marshal tries to convince her to let Shirou proceed. However, C intervenes, explaining that humanity's current state is actually ideal. He argues that while some humans may be evil, most strive for goodness in the end. Through tears, Jean tells Marshal she cannot accept Shirou's version of salvation because he lacks faith in humanity's ability to save itself. Marshal breaks down crying, revealing he had hoped Shirou's plan would atone for the children he had killed. Jean consoles her servant, assuring him everything will improve soon. Becoming emotional, Shirou declares he won't let a mere ruler spirit ruin the plans he spent 60 years developing. Drawing power from the Holy Grail, he prepares to fight anyone who stands in his way. Jean hands her flag to Marshal, thanking him for his loyalty, which he humbly accepts. She turns to Sai, expressing gratitude for the love they shared, and he acknowledges her with a nod. Taking out her holy sword, Jean holds the sharp edge and uses her blood to activate her noble phantasm. As she prepares for battle, Shirou launches an attack against her. Marshal intercepts Shirou's attack, protecting Jean. After completing her preparation, Jean bids a final farewell to her beloved C and transforms into her warrior form. Shirou activates both his noble phantasms, launching powerful attacks at Jean. Using the Grail's power, he creates a massive inferno that engulfs the entire room. The devastating attack claims Jean's life. Sai cradles her in his arms, watching helplessly as the person he loves most fades away into nothingness. Only the physical body of the host, Letitia, remains. The ruler is gone forever. At this moment, Ryder arrives to assist C, but Assassin appears simultaneously and captures both Ryder and her flying mount. C entrusts Letitia's unconscious body to Calls before drawing his sword to confront Shirou. As Shirou draws his own weapon, their final battle begins. To everyone's amazement, C matches Shirou blow for blow, fighting as his equal and displaying combat skills reminiscent of a fallen servant. While others wonder about Sai's unexpected prowess, Call spots a familiar leaf from his berserker's blasted tree attack. Realizing Berserker is fighting through Sai's body, he shouts encouragement to his servant to continue the battle. After trading several strikes, Shirou manages to stab Sai in the upper arm. However, Sai seizes this close proximity to his advantage, unleashing Berserker's blasted tree attack to destroy Shirou. The blasted tree attack destabilizes the floating fortress, causing it to gradually crumble. Shirou regains consciousness in Semiramis's arms in a beautiful outdoor area of the fortress. She has already eased his pain to ensure a peaceful death. In his final moments, Shirou apologizes for deceiving her, but instead of anger, Semiramis shows him love and tenderness, asking if he had planned to kill her too. Shirou denies this, explaining he only wanted to achieve his goal. Semiramis weeps quietly and kisses Shirou's lips softly. Surprised by this gesture, Shirou thanks her for giving him a painless death before drawing his last breath. Soon after, Semiramis vanishes, returning to the underworld. Meanwhile, C waits inside the Holy Grail for the being to grant his request. Otto follows him and is relieved to find him unharmed. Justice appears, asking for C's wish. When C expresses his desire to stop Shirou's wish for mankind, Justice explains she cannot prevent it. Humanity's fate is already changing irreversibly. When C questions if it's too soon for such a transformation, she replies it's not her place to judge, but adds that the Grail's presence in their world would grant humans immortality. After careful consideration, C makes his decision. He wishes to become the dragon Fafnir so he can transport the Holy Grail to the reverse side of the world. Despite Otto's pleas against this decision, Sai remains resolute. He asks Otto to continue living on Earth, keeping his memories alive. Accepting her master's choice, Otto watches as he transforms into a dragon. She then returns to the fortress, rescues Calls and Letitia, and finds an escape route before the structures collapse. Castor, who has been recording these events, witnesses Otto's escape with the others. Accepting his fate, he allows himself to be crushed within the falling fortress. From outside, Otto watches her master in his dragon form carry the Holy Grail to the reverse side of the world, ensuring humanity remains mortal and the world unchanged. Letitia, recalling Sai's time with Jean, hopes for their eventual reunion. Several weeks after the battle, life returns to normal. Calls faces an interview with one of the association's leading mages. Though criticized for losing 3 masters, he still receives appreciation for his service. After the meeting, the mage takes a moment to reflect on Shirou's legendary life. Meanwhile, Letitia meets with Otto to share her experiences from the war. She expresses gratitude for remembering everything she witnessed firsthand. Otto thanks her master for allowing her to remain in the world among the people, and together they take one final ride before Letitia departs for her homeland in France. During her flight home, Letitia contemplates Jean's feelings for C, hoping they'll reunite someday. After their farewell, Otto rests on an outdoor bench until boredom strikes. She then summons her flying mount and takes off to explore the world, marking the end of the Holy Grail War. The epilogue reveals that Sai eventually discovers Jean Dark's spirit waiting for him on the moon. With a smile, he reunites with his beloved as they journey together into the afterlife. If you made it this far and want more deep dives into anime that actually respect your intelligence, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for Curious Nerd. We break down the smartest strategies, the craziest plots, and everything in between. Thanks for watching.